Welcome to the Morgan DeVries podcast. This is a space where we explore our energetic nature, living in alignment, and what it really means to create a life that feels like fucking magic, because that's always been the mission. Through conversations and my own reflections, my intention is simple: to help you reconnect with your truth and the light that already exists within you. Let's get into it. A lot of us feel like we are in a perpetual state of dysregulation, whether that comes from fear of the unknown, making moves and taking bets on our lives, or even just habitual patterns such as the need to please and be productive. And it can feel hard to escape in a world that seems quite literally designed to dysregulate us. And while we all know that nervous system regulation is what we want, it often feels like it's not enough because the things that are stressing us out are still, quote unquote, still out there, still there. So this isn't a chat about how to calm down. It's a chat about how to adapt, expand, and live in a state of peace within the circumstances that once stressed you out and kept you dysregulated. We are incredible beings with incredibly intelligent bodies. When you have a simple understanding and some knowledge of how to work with your body's response systems, you begin to realize that you do have autonomy on how you experience this world. So today, I am beyond lucky to be joined in this conversation with the one and only Rae Hemmings. She is a holistic wellness coach who focuses on the importance of a regulated nervous system in order to live a life beyond your wildest dreams. She holds the vision for a world where we actually get to thrive and not just survive. So, welcome, Taylor. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So I'll start off by sharing that Taylor and I were supposed to have this conversation last week. Knowing that it was we want to talk about nervous system regulation. She's a pro, she's got a lot of knowledge on this. But that day I was actually feeling so dysregulated that I was like, I don't know if I can have a conversation about this and have anything to contribute. And just so happened, the universe is so silly sometimes and great. And it was that the next day she was hosting her own nervous system regulation masterclass. So I got to go to that and actually see her in action, and it was amazing. And I feel like I'm now more prepared to actually have this conversation. So it all worked out. It always
does. It always does.
Yes,
yeah.
It really does. So as I was doing some deep diving into your work, something that you seem to talk about a lot is that the talk around nervous system regulation is kind of a buzzword, and it's more people are talking about it in a way that's like to relax rather than to actually be able to regulate and actually like expand into the circumstance. And what do you tell people about that? What's like your main, if you want to share more on that, I guess, to start us off?
Yeah, I love this question so much.
Or what's the difference, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Nervous system regulation is such a buzz phrase, I feel like, that's currently circulating the internet. We're often seeing so much about it, and what we're really seeing is more tools for relaxation. And relaxation and regulation, they're not the same thing. You, yes, can be regulated when you're relaxed, but you don't have to be relaxed to be regulated. And a lot of the tools that we're seeing out there that are like, this is what nervous system regulation is, they're really just tools. They're really just like the tip of the iceberg, and like things like going for a walk or taking a deep breath. And don't get me wrong, like those are so helpful. They can be really helpful tools, but they're not the full picture of regulation, right? Like regulation comes from creating safety within whatever situation that we're in. It comes from rewiring our mind and how it perceives the unknown or newness. And it's actually a biological process. And it's so much deeper than the tools that we hear about. And it's actually something that's supposed to happen more unconsciously, but too often we kind of get in the way with the way that we're thinking, the stories that we're telling ourselves, all of that kind of stuff. So Regulation is really just like recalibrating to new circumstances, new environments, new challenges, newness, for lack of a better term. And it's, yeah, that recalibration so that when we meet a challenge or when we get knocked or when there's this external situation that comes up, we don't lose our footing, but rather, or if we do lose our footing, we can regain it. The way that I really like to look at regulation is that there's like three main components to it. So one being understanding our biology and the activation that we feel and like what's actually happening inside of us so that we can like re-become, I guess, regulated. The second would be presence. And this is where a lot of those tools that we see come in handy. But again, they're just like a part of the equation. And the third thing is being really intentional with the stories that we tell ourselves. Like regulation it's not being relaxed all the time. We don't need to feel calm to be regulated, although that can help, but it's not necessary, because regulation is more about riding the waves than feeling calm. It's more about, riding these waves of activation and returning our bodies, our being to a state of balance. And we're actually meant to like ride these waves. We're not meant to be consistently in this super regulated state. We're also not meant to be consistently in a super dysregulated state. We have both like the fight, flight, freeze response, and we have like the rest, digest response that are biologically ingrained into our bodies, into our system. And they're both supposed to be there. They both play really important roles. And if we have too much of one, we end up in survival mode. If we have too much of the other, we end up with stagnancy. And we really are meant to have this dance of both. And regulation itself is that dance. It's not the relaxation. It's literally the finding the balance, the constant ebbs and flows between different states of activation.
Yeah. Oh, that was such a good answer. That was so good. That's so true, because it's like we're gonna have those moments of like uncomfortability, and it's like that expansion, and to be able to actually be there and not make it a bad thing allows us to be there and to move out of it faster. So I like that you have like those three parts. It was the biology, the what was the second one?
Presence and our stories.
Presence and the stories, because then the stories allow you to actually make it a habit to be able to like stay regulated without it just being like about being calm. And I honestly think it's such an important conversation to have. Like I said, this can be about, big world things happening, or it could be about like your habitual nature, like habitual patterns that we have. But to have this idea that, okay, we are adaptable beings, we are like made to go through these waves and regulate. I think that's such a helpful thing to even know. Something that I'm just now thinking that really made such a shift for me with calming my nervous system over the years. I remember my friend saying, I think it was in the beginning of COVID, one of my friends, I was like freaking out, and she was like, Morgan, we are like, all of history as humans, we are adaptable beings. Like, this is what we do. We adapt to situations. And adapting isn't just like finding like okay, that's fine. It's like our bodies actually expand what they're able to hold. And I think knowing that can give you so much peace that like, okay, I'm actually going to be able to hold this soon. So this feeling of uncomfortability isn't a sign that I'm like off the path. It's literally a sign that I'm expanding and I'm about to be able to hold this. If I can stay here and not create more stories around it that make it feel bad and like keep that part going, then I will reach that part where it's just poof, like I can handle this. I can do this. Like our bodies are so fucking smart, and it's just it's so good to know that, So I love hearing the kind of the back end of that, of like understanding our nervous systems.
Yeah, I love what you shared, that your friend shared with you, like how we're literally meant to and built to adapt. We're literally meant to expand and evolve. And I kind of think of it like, to have a really simple analogy, like a rubber band, right? If you just have a rubber band like sitting on your desk, like sure it's chill and it's there, but it's not serving its purpose, right? Rubber bands are meant to hold something together, hold more, to expand, to be able to like encompass something greater than just itself on its own. And if we just leave the rubber band on our desk and never use it, like sure, it's still a rubber band, but it's not being used and adapted and expanded to its potential. So I love like kind of playing with that analogy. Like obviously we're a bit more complex than rubber bands, but like
basically the same.
knowing that that's our purpose is expansion. Our purpose is to hold more. Our purpose is to expand our capacity to grow into different things, to adapt. Like knowing that gives us a whole different perspective of how like that uncomfortability or the discomfort that does come up in life, because it does. It gives us a whole new perspective on like why it comes up and what we get to do with it moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really love that analogy. And I'm such a visual person. Like I really think in pictures, so that like that is helpful.
Perfect.
Yeah. I'd love to hear, what was that?
Just said honestly, same.
Yeah. I love like I feel like all my mental like shifts have been like visual shifts. Like like the way I see a belief, it like actually changes in picture.
So, I love that.
It's really cool. Yeah. I would love to hear like maybe what was like, do you have a story of what like really got you into nervous system regulation? When was like that switch for you? Like, do you have like a, like a dark night of the soul or whatever they call it for that? And then where you actually implemented this knowledge of like, okay, like I'm going to adapt, I'm going to expand, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like I get this question often, and I would love, actually, maybe I don't know if I would love to be able to like pinpoint one very specific thing. If I think back in my life, I don't really have one very specific moment to pinpoint. This work and this concept really, I feel like I grew up with it, honestly, like, and I'm grateful for that. Awesome. Like my mom was very much in the personal development space pretty much from when I was around 6 years old. So subconscious mind wasn't fully formed yet. So I was like really soaking up all of this stuff, and then grew up in a space where this type of work, these types of conversations were normal in my household and wanted and needed in a lot of cases. And I think having that upbringing, it kind of just like became a part of my being slowly without me really realizing what was going on. And then as I became more aware of nervous system regulation as a concept, it's not what I called it until probably a few years ago, but as a concept, I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like we have so much power and so much control and so much, we get to put so much intention on how we're experiencing the world around us rather than letting the world around us affect us so much. The more that I like realized that, the more books I wanted to read and documentaries I wanted to watch. I was like totally nerding out on this stuff. I was like, how can I know more? And I learned a bunch of things and I would implement here and there. And then I was also like a teenager at the time. Teenager things would happen and I would forget all of these tools and this information that I was learning. Something would bring me back to it. And then, life would happen and I would forget, and something would bring me back to it. And I actually really love this kind of ebb and flow that I've experienced with this work in my personal life, because it shows that, there's not like one thing, one piece of information that clicks and you're like, oh, I all of a sudden know how to regulate my nervous system all the time and I'm perfect at this and nothing ever knocks me over. But rather, there's this constant, like, maybe like cycles or just like this constant ability for us to remember the things that we learn and re-implement them to re-become regulated in whatever environment we're now in. So it's not like this one major shift. And I feel like sometimes people think that they're like, oh, like once I'm regulated, I'm good to go. But like, it's not how life works. It's just not how it works. We're meant to have like I was speaking on earlier, the dance between different waves of activation. We're meant to really experience this like full spectrumness of what life has to offer, and we get to implement the tools and teachings and information and practices that we learn along the way, so that next time when a challenge comes up, we have more tools in our toolbox, or more of a steady foundation to be able to move through it with a little bit more ease. Even if it's just like 1% than last time, we're always going to be equipped with a little bit more every time we move through something. And we're going to move through things. And the more that we do that, the more tools and teachings and understandings and the ability to embody this stuff really like gets ingrained in us. And the simpler it does become in future challenges or unknown experiences or external factors that we have absolutely no control over.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. We do get like a lot better at it. And that's the thing. It's like, it obviously does come back and we keep expanding, but it's like in different levels. Like we probably have like times where it's like such a lesson and it's a huge shift. And then it's like little things. Like obviously I was ready to come on here and talk with you about nervous system regulation. And then I had like a complete panic attack last week. So it's like, it happens. And I bounced back within a day, you know, whereas if that happened in high school, you wouldn't have seen me for like 2 weeks. Like I would have been, you know, so we do get better at it. And I also love what you were saying about that you like, there's kind of a love for the ebb and flow of it. Like it's also, it's hard to say when you are in a state of dysregulation. But it's like, it's part of that human experience that we love so much, you know, like the part that's like, it like breaks us open. Like there's something about being broken open sometimes that's so beautiful. So I agree. And I also think on a more of the spiritual end, like a lot of language I like to use, you know, is like this, our soul and everything. And I really think our soul loves to forget and then to remember, because the remembering is so good. Like the remembering is like everything. So it's not even about, like, it's literally just the turning around. It's literally like, oh yeah, I can handle this. And then you feel that flush of energy through you and you expand and you feel life again.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah. So it's hard because, I mean, when you are in a state of dysregulation, that sounds like bullshit. And you're like, I don't care about the turning around, you know, like even last week me would have been like, please shut the fuck up. Like, but you know, like once you experience the expansion feeling of like, I can handle this. And like, I'm in the exact same situation, but my nervous system is acting different now, you know, then you kind of have that hindsight feeling of like, okay, that was beautiful, you know, in a sense. Yeah.
And that can be
I don't know
really
if that's
hard.
a shared experience or not.
No, 100%. Like it can be really hard to find that in the moment, right? In that state of dysregulation. I feel like, to give like a really simple real life example that I feel like probably most people listening probably experience at some point in their life, is how you feel after you like get over a cold or the flu. There's like this period of time where you're like, oh wow, I am so grateful for my health, right? Like being in the thick of having that cold or having the flu or whatever, you're like, wow, this sucks. Like how, like, is this going to end? Am I going to get better? Like I miss X, Y, and Z. Like I don't want to just be sleeping all day or whatever the case is. And then when we get on the other side of that, there's like this period of time where there's so much more gratitude for our health. Maybe even like these insights to like eat a little bit better or exercise a little bit more because we can again. And there's like this renewed sense of like, oh, like this is what life is meant to feel like almost.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have that had we not had the experience that in some ways like brought us to our knees. Right. And then the same thing goes for like the times of dysregulation. Like if we didn't have the life experiences that challenged us, or the newness that really like forced us to take a good look at where we are and decide where we want to go next, if we didn't move through the hard stuff, we wouldn't ever experience the like The word that's coming to mind is like euphoria, but I feel like that might be a little bit intense of a word, but like the joy or the peace that
Yeah.
comes from moving past that really challenging experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. It's true. I'm listening to this, trying to think of somebody who's listening from a dysregulated nervous system like point of view. And I'm wondering if us saying this and they're thinking, I don't even feel like I'm going to get to that euphoric point, like, because it feels sometimes like it's actually like you can't handle it, and you're like, I don't actually see the end or the bright light. What would you, I mean, I guess this kind of brings us back to our first topic about the like being in the uncomfortable and trusting that it's, you will expand. But what would you say for somebody that's like right there right now?
I feel like the best place to start is really just understanding that, like, for feelings that individual is feeling, like for speaking to the person who's in a dysregulated state right now, or who feels really broken down or knocked over or uncomfortable with where they're at, and like doesn't see how they can move forward or what could be on the other side of it. I feel like the first thing is really just like recognizing that it's okay to feel that way and it's part of the process. And I feel like so often, especially with like how social media is these days, we can be scrolling and scrolling and everyone's like, oh, this happened and I got through this and blah blah blah. And you're in the thick of it and you're like, but how? How do I get there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're often, so often trying to avoid the situation that we're in directly. We're trying to place our minds on something else, or we're trying to like almost push the challenge or the discomfort or the whatever it is that we're dealing with that's causing this dysregulation away, rather than leaning into it, rather than actually meeting it where it is and being like, okay, like this is where I'm at. Cool. Maybe it sucks. I've been there. I have been there. But if we spend so much time avoiding it, thinking about how it's causing all these problems and doing all these things, and we're just really trying to push it away, there's this really beautiful quote that I love. I don't know who said it. I think it's in a song that I like to listen to, but it's, what we resist persists. Because the things that show up in our lives are there to gift us or bring us something, and that can be really hard to hear when we're in the thick of it. That can be really hard to hear when we're like going through something that feels really shitty. And if we approach life from that lens, that anything that comes our way, challenges, lessons, blessings, joy, are there to gift us something, or at the very least teach us something, if we resist it, it will continue to persist because it literally is coming to us for some kind of reason. We may not know it now. We may not know it for a couple of years, but eventually that reason or that gift or that lesson will present itself. And if we spend all of our time pushing it away, resisting it, we'll continue to perpetuate the same experience until we decide to meet it and be like, okay, you know what? This is where I'm at. Maybe not even asking like, why am I here, but what's mine to do here? What's mine to learn from this experience? In what ways can I do X, Y, or Z from this? Like something, I'm trying to think of a way to describe this. Something that I like to do in those moments is like, how much more present can I be with this experience? And even just like that question alone feels really uncomfortable because you're like, I don't want to be present with something that feels like shit. You're like, that
Mm-hmm.
seems so counterintuitive. But if we do that, we actually get to meet the situation more at a face value, rather than resisting it and making up a story in our head about what it means about us, what it means about our life, what it means about what we can do moving forward, and thus then, because of those stories, perpetuating whatever the challenge is that we're experiencing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, I don't know what the exact number is, but I've heard that emotions in face value by themselves without our attached stories move through us in like 30 seconds to like 5 minutes or something like that. There's like a very small portion um, that they'll move through, and you literally like come to the other side of it. And that, I think, because I feel like there can be a little bit of that like cliche of like meet your feelings, and it's like, what does that mean? And it's I think having that understanding that emotions on their own have a full cycle, and that we are the ones that look at the emotion and then dissect the emotion and then tell more about it, and that's what adds more. So I think even just knowing that it has its cycle without your help, like you don't have to analyze it, you don't have to think your way out of it, and it will pass through, then that's comforting in itself. And then I think the part of what we can do then, because obviously we do have thoughts and like that is hard to not think, is learning the habits and tools that help you to let go rather than like fix your situation, because your emotion itself will do that, you know?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
this full kind of surrender experience.
Mm.
Like
Oh,
I
surrender.
Yeah, it's such a good word. I've
It's
actually
been my word.
I've had a lot of clients actually share with me that the word surrender feels very uncomfortable because it's there's this almost kind of societal perspective that surrender is like to give up, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not. You're not giving up. You're still in the environment, in the situation, whatever, but rather you're giving over the stories that you're making it mean about yourself. You're giving over to something outside of yourself, something maybe greater than yourself. This is where like I get a little more, maybe a little more like faith-based, spiritual. Like you're giving it over to
Woo
the
woo. That's
universe.
the audience though. They like it.
Like you're giving it over to the universe, or you're giving it over to God, or whatever you believe in, and letting the situation play out. And like I said earlier, like meeting what you're meant to meet in that situation. And like surrender isn't, it's not giving up, it's not stepping away, it's not like stopping trying or whatever, but it is like letting go of so much control that we tend to place on every little thing, because our our egos love to control every little thing that happens and love to think that they can manipulate every little outcome that we experience, when that's not really the case. It's not really the case. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so true. The idea of, I'm sure you've heard this quote of like the universe doesn't know no, where you're like, I don't want this. And this is obviously a different conversation, but still, I don't want this. And it's all the universe can actually receive is that you're focused there and that's where it is. So I think that correlates to like the idea of letting go. Our brains are like, well, I can't think of like a no. We do have to give our minds kind of a direction, and it's true. It's like I'm letting go. I like what you said. I'm handing over or turning over, something like that. Yeah, like that's so yeah, that helps us have a direction
mm-hmm.
for where those thoughts are going. Or even if it's not, handing it over to the universe or God or an actual greater source, whatever, it could be handing it over to the knowledge of our biological systems,
Mm-hmm.
like handing it over to just like knowing that, okay, my body knows how to work and I have nothing to do here. Like I don't need to do anything. Let me just hand that over. So I'm curious, do you have any like biological understanding of what happens nervous system wise when you do like sit in something, when you like allow an emotion to be there and that expansion process? Is there like some more information you might have on that? If not, that's okay. Hi, babes. Pardon my interruption, but I come with fantabulous news. I have recently been having some huge epiphanies about just how much I care about curating connection and helping people transform their lives. And I have decided to reopen up my one-on-one coaching. I'm not sure how many people I'll be taking at a time, but you can always apply to get on the wait list. This is for those of you who have been listening to me for probably a while and are feeling like you are ready to truly integrate this knowledge into your lifestyle. This is an offering of deeper knowledge and deeper practice. If you feel like a level of transformation happens when you listen to this podcast, I want you to just take a second to envision what would it be like to work with me side by side, to be partners in your transformation, to have reflected back to you what needs shifting and what needs attention, for you to finally rest in the power of this universe, to finally access the frequency of joy and ease that you've been searching for in hundreds of books and podcasts. Something really special happens when you have a one-on-one coach, and I know this firsthand, and I am so excited to put this offer out in a way that feels really, really aligned for me. So if you feel like you're curious but want to learn a little bit more, or maybe even just get a taste of what it's like to work with me, I'm offering a free 20-minute Pick My Brain session. This session can be whatever you want it to be. You can ask me questions about the program, certain manifestation topics, or honestly, whatever you want. This space is open for anyone, even if you are not looking for one-on-one coaching. Generous, I know. Well, all right, my loves, this is all for now, and you can find both links in the show notes. Okay, back to the show.
Just to think about the intelligence of like how right now you and I, everyone listening, is breathing without thinking about it. Their heart is beating without thinking about it. Our brains are wiring and rewiring and creating all these neural connections and pathways without us having any thought of it of the sorts. Right now, I am growing my baby and I'm doing it, I guess, but I'm not thinking about it. It's happening completely outside of my conscious awareness. I would even say completely outside of like subconscious awareness. It's literally just like our bodies know what to do. And I love how you added that into what we were speaking on earlier about like giving the emotions or the challenges or the states of dysregulation over to the intelligence of our bodies, because they do know what to do. Like I mentioned at the start, this like fluctuation between states of activation is a normal biological process. Moving between the fight, flight, freeze response and the rest, digest response is a normal biological process. Our bodies actually know how to dance between the two. Often, though, we get in the way. We're the ones who start making this like fight, flight, freeze response into some kind of story about how we're not good enough or not doing well enough at our job, or we don't have enough money, or we can't do X thing or whatever. And then we start to perpetuate those stories that keep us in this survival mode state. Versus if we just allowed the emotions and the processes to come up and be like, oh, okay, that's something that's different. Let's see what we can do here, as opposed to automatically making it mean something. Then we actually support the normal biological process where our body kind of gets to figure out like, okay, what feels best to do next. Like I feel like there's so many like automatic processes. Like when we're experiencing, for example, like really intense sadness, our body forces us to breathe deeper. It's hard. And sometimes when we think about it, we're like, how can I take deep breaths right now? And people are like, oh, just like take another breath or whatever. And we're like, shut up, because you're like in this moment, right? But your body's actually doing that for you automatically. It just like takes a little bit of time sometimes. And then eventually we catch our breath and we're like, oh, okay, because if I wouldn't have catch my breath, I probably would have hyperventilated. And then we catch our breath, we can re-regulate a little bit, and the body just starts doing that automatically. So what if we let it do that a little bit more often? And with that too, like, I don't know if anyone listening or if you have experienced this before. I'm someone who, like, when I'm feeling really frustrated, I'll cry. And there might be people that have experienced that, like, and if I'm in a situation where I'm like, I can't cry, it's like the frustration builds. But as soon as I just like let my body do the thing that it wanted to do, it actually pulls me out of the like dysregulated activation and back into a calmer state. And like the more we resist our body's natural intelligence to do the very things that it's designed for, the more whatever we're experiencing starts to build and build and build and perpetuate and continue on.
Yeah. Yeah, our bodies are so smart. They're so smart. And I feel like that's been a lesson for me this year is like I actually just recorded another podcast by myself of just like I'm playing around with this idea of really trusting my body and like testing how much I can fine tune it in the sense of like letting that lead in front of my thoughts. Like having thoughts that feel so real and true, but trusting my body over that still. Like that is a freaking practice for sure. Like it's not easy. That's something I'm like, I just I know our bodies are so intelligent, and I know there's ways to even like tap into that even more, you know? So I think that's wonderful. Like trust the response that you're getting. If you want to cry, cry. Like if you need to breathe deeper, like breathe deeper. Or yeah. I want to go back to kind of what I'm saying of this idea of these stories that we have that perpetuate stuff. For somebody that's like, okay, but it's not a story, like it's truth, like to them, or like when you're in this state of fight or flight, you're looking for like you're zoning in and you're going to find more about the situation that it feels like, oh no, it's not a story. It's like I actually found this information and this is true. You know, like how do you maybe talk somebody out of that? Or I know it's a story. Like I know I got myself here, but I found it. Like it's information. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So how do we like break that down?
No, I totally hear what you're saying. This actually really ties into like that kind of third aspect of nervous system regulation that I love to talk about, and that's the stories that we're telling ourselves. What I do and what I do with my clients, what I do with my friends, with myself, with the people in my world, is I really take them through this like, and I take myself through this process often, literally all the time. It's actually the process that we did on our workshop, which is so fun. But really just going through this kind of like step-by-step process to look at whatever situation or story that's coming up kind of at face value and like break it down. I'll go through the process like in maybe some more, I guess, simple terms, but basically like the first step is just being aware of what the situation is, what you're experiencing. I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a really simple example. Let's say, okay, I'm just going to use something. This is like a hot topic on the internet or like in environments that I'm listening to at the grocery store. I feel like so many people are talking about how they don't have enough money. So I'm just going to riff off this one just to use as an example. So let's say the belief, or the, maybe not the belief, but the story, the like situation, what feels so true to this individual is that they don't have enough money. That's the like the face value of what they're meeting, what they're experiencing. The next step is to really ask yourself, like, okay, what am I making this mean about me? What does this situation, this I don't have enough money, whether it's true or not, we're not going to talk about that, but let's look at the belief. What do we believe this means about us? Maybe we believe it means that we're not good enough. Maybe we believe that it means that we don't have a direction in our career. Maybe we believe that it means that we're, just getting by and not progressing or amounting to anything. Whatever the situation that we're presented with, there's always some kind of belief that comes up with it. This story that we make it mean about ourselves. So once we have got the situation, now we've got the beliefs. So we're like, okay, well, the beliefs here are, I feel like I'm not enough. I feel like I'm never going to amount to anything. I feel like I'm no good at my work, whatever those beliefs are. The next piece is to realize that this is just a story that we're telling ourselves. And how we do this too is realize or feel into those beliefs that I'm not enough, I feel like I'm never going to amount to anything, just kind of tune into our bodies and be like, how does that feel in my body? Does that feel good in my body? Or does that feel heavy and weighted? Maybe it feels true right now because that's the story that we've been replaying, but how does it feel in the body? Not how we think about it in the mind, whether it's true, false, or whatever, but how does it feel in the body? It probably doesn't feel really good, right? And that's an indication that this is, okay, A, it's a story that we're telling ourselves. B, it's probably not actually true. The fact that we're not enough, that's not actually true. And if anyone who's listening to this believes that genuinely, I just want you to know that that's not true. And so the next step is realizing, okay, this is a story that I'm telling myself. And we can frame it that way in our brain. We go, okay, the story I'm telling myself is I'm not enough. The story I'm telling myself is that I'm never going to amount to anything. The story I'm telling myself is insert whatever the belief is. And then we look at that and we're like, oh, okay, well, this is just a story that I'm telling myself. It's like a bedtime story. If you don't like the bedtime story you're reading, maybe you can pick up a different book, right? We don't have to continue to read and tell the same stories over and over again. We can shift that. And that's the next step. So after we recognize, like, okay, that's just a story. I don't like that story. It doesn't feel good in my body. Whether I believe it's true or not, it doesn't feel good. So what if I shifted that? And then we get to write a more empowering story. And we get to write, and it can be something as easy as like just the flip of what we just did or what we had just had, just flipping the beliefs. Instead of I'm not enough, I am enough. Instead of I'm never going to amount to anything, I get to find ways to be successful. I get to insert whatever. And sometimes that language, the like I am, is really hard for people to grasp initially. So what I like to do is I have like 2 alternate phrases, and then people can kind of choose whatever works best for them. But one is I am in the process of believing that. Insert new belief. I am in the process of believing that I am enough. The second option is I now choose to believe, insert belief. I now choose to believe that I am enough. Both of these languages, the process word, the choose word, it really gives our subconscious mind something to work with. It's like an invitation to try something a little bit different. If we jump straight to the like, this is the new belief, I am this, the subconscious mind is like, whoa, hold on. Like, that's not what we've been talking about this whole time. Like, what do you mean? That's different. But if we invite this more like gentle process or this choice, the subconscious mind's like, ooh, I can learn. I can be flexible. Like that could be fine. It's kind of like, I love relating this to a toddler. Our subconscious mind is literally like a toddler. If anyone has been around toddlers or worked with toddlers, I'm gonna go on a small tangent here, but even earlier talking about how the universe doesn't hear no, it just hears what is. Like a toddler is the same way. If you're like, slam the door, they'll slam the door. But if you're like, close the door gently, they'll close the door gently, right? So same kind of thing. Our subconscious mind is the same way. And similarly, if you tell a toddler to do something, go put on your shoes. They might not do it. Like sometimes because you're not giving them a negative, they will. But if you're telling them, especially if it's something that they don't want to do, I use this. This is such a funny example, but I used this when my sister was potty training my nephew. He did not want to go sit on the potty. He did not. We were like, okay, it's time to use the potty. And he was like, no. But if I was like, can you show me how you use the potty? I gave a different invitation. He's like, I can do that. Because he wanted to show that he could do the thing that you were asking. So when we have the same kind of invitation for our subconscious mind, we're like, can we do this? I'm in the process of. Our subconscious mind's like, ooh, let me find all of the ways where we can make this true. Let me show you what I can do.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great That was like 4-step process for that. That's so good. Something that you said, I had a thought about, you were talking about, when you are having a negative emotion about a story and you're like, well, that's an indicator that it's probably false. I think something that can add to that, that helps that like click too, is to understand that like your negative emotion is indicating that your heart and your brain are not coherent. So you're not actually, like, your systems aren't fully functioning in a nice flow, and you're not actually accessing the part of your brain that is responsible for answers and solutions. Like, the part of your brain that finds solutions actually turns off when you're in that state of fight or flight. So it's like knowing, okay, if I'm feeling off and I have a story around this, it probably is not super accurate, because and I'm knowing this because my body isn't actually fully functioning right now, or like optimally to be like a creative person and to be creatively thinking. So I feel like that's like a helpful way to just like add to that too,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Because it's
100%.
hard to be like, what, well, why isn't my story correct? You know, but knowing that, wait, the part of my body that knows the correct stories isn't actually on right now. Like, it's actually turned off.
Yeah. Yeah. And then similarly,
Yeah.
too, once we have that new story written out or thought of or whatever the case may be, and we take that and think about it like I am in the process of believing that I am enough, as the example we were
Mm-hmm.
using earlier, right? How does that feel then in the body? We start to feel this empowered feeling. We start to feel lighter,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more peaceful. Maybe it kind of feels like a stretch, but we're like, man, if that was possible, that would feel really freaking good. And
Yeah.
that's when we know that we're starting to enter into this state of coherence. That's when we know that the story that we're telling ourselves is actually supportive for us. That's when we that's
Mm-hmm.
when we know that we've like we've reconnected the mind body connection, and the story that we're now telling ourselves, even though it might feel a bit uncomfy at first because it's different than the story we've been telling ourselves for so long, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually the story that's most supportive for us to be in a state of coherence, for us to be in a state of regulation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings us back to the beginning of like, it's okay to be in that uncomfortable, trust it, trust your body's responses, know that you'll expand, and we are made to adapt. We are adaptable beings. Oh, this is such a good conversation. Do you feel like there's anything else you would want to share?
There's so much, like, this is, I mean, it's
Yeah, sorry,
something that
that was like such a vague question.
question.
Terrible on my end.
Yeah, I think if I had to like leave this with like one kind of reminder, I guess, for the people listening
Right.
and for ourselves,
That's a good
because
one.
I mean, I always need this
Yeah,
reminder too.
too.
The more that we work the muscle of finding that safety or that ease or that new story in times that feel unknown, the more we truly get to experience everything that life has to offer. And the more that we get to
Mm.
understand what we came here for and what we came to be a part of. And it is that like full spectrum experience. Like I mentioned before, we're not supposed to constantly be regulated, just like we're not supposed to constantly be dysregulated. It's about all of the highs and lows and everything in between. It's like I love to I have two analogies for this. One, I'm going to start with the surfing analogy. I love surfing. I don't know if you surf or if anyone listening surfs. Anyone who surfs
Oh.
can probably relate to this. um, a good surf day happens when there are waves. You can't have a good
Mm.
surf day or just you can't have a surf day in general if the ocean is always completely, totally calm. You could like paddle out there
Mm-hmm.
and sit on your board, but then you're like, what's the point? Whereas we're actually meant to ride the waves, and we feel most accomplished when we're finding our balance and standing up and trying again and doing the thing over and over again. And the more that we practice that, the more or the better we get, or the more we enjoy the experience. And maybe for like an analogy that more people could understand, for those who have not served, I like to think of it like, I like to think of this dance of nervous system regulation as like a musical composition. We have major keys and minor keys and crescendos and lentos. We've got the fast, the slow. We have the adiago, which actually translates to at ease, which is kind of cool. And it all creates these beautiful, moving pieces of music filled with emotion, filled with so much life, some filled with things that make us want to dance, or things that make us feel really excited, or things that, make us want to cry, or things that make us feel something really powerful. And we need all of it. All of it. The beauty in music, just like the beauty in life, is found by experiencing and using and being totally in all of it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And it makes me think too, it's just like knowing that if you're feeling the more bass or whatever part of the symphony, that there are those days coming, like you will come on the other end where you're gonna have the flutes and the high pitched ones, like you're gonna have your symphony. Something that this is like I just think of this a lot now. I watched the movie Avatar, like the newest one, and something they said that it just like stuck with me. It was that the light always returns. And I could actually cry right now. I love that movie. But it's just like the light always returns. So even like you said, like it's all important. And we want all of it. We want to have the expansion. We want to have the symphonies. We want to have the good surf days. And to hold on to the knowing that the light will return. Like, you'll always adapt. You'll always come out on the other end, and these tools help you get there faster or help you practice the muscle of it. And that's what I feel like this conversation really is, but
yeah, I love
yeah,
that
the light
so
always
much.
returns.
Yeah, that makes me think of a phrase that I come back to time and time again, which is "this too shall pass." And like that has been a mantra of mine since I first heard it. I don't know, years and years and years and years. I have no idea how long it's been a part of my life. Like probably since I was like 8 years old, and I didn't understand what it meant at the time. But like all of it, everything will pass. What we're experiencing right now, whether it's challenging or joyful or anything in between, it will pass, just like everything does. And when we realize that everything does run its course, we get to be more present with whatever we're experiencing. We get to receive the lessons or the blessings from whatever we're experiencing more deeply when we meet it there, because it will pass. Might not feel like it will sometimes, but it will.
Yeah.
And then when we're on the other side of it, we're like, oh, okay. And then the new thing that we're experiencing, it'll pass too. And the next thing, and the next thing. And all our role, our job really is and gets to be, is to be really present with everything that we're meeting.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, I would love for you to shout out your masterclass so people can maybe access that if they want a deeper like practice with this, if there's something they want to come into the masterclass with, and also your socials or anywhere else that you are active right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please shout out.
Absolutely.
I'll link it too.
Perfect. Yeah. So for those who want to go through the masterclass, or the nervous system reset workshop is what it's called, you can go to heavenonmamaearth.com/reset. And like Morgan said, she'll link it for you. So you know how to spell all of that. Yeah, where I like to hang out these days is mostly over on my Instagram. So if people want to connect with me over there, shoot me a message, ask me a question. My DMs are always open. My Instagram username is Taylor Rae Soleil. I'll spell it because it is a little bit different.
I didn't know how to say it.
TaylorRaeSoleijl. And I'm sure Morgan will link that as well.
I will write that, yeah. I'll link it.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much. This was actually such a beautiful conversation. I knew it was going to go in a way that it was meant to. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful that we were able to do this.